How's everyone?
Great. Good.
You guys having a good time at NAMM 2019?
Yeah.
Who's a Steinberg Yamaha Cubase user here? Hello. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Yamaha Steinberg, for having me, and for all you guys, ladies, coming here. Lady for coming here. My name is Clarence Jey. I'm a songwriter, a record producer, arranger. I'm based out of LA. If you're trying to work out where my accent's from, I was born in Sri Lanka, raised in Australia, and I live in LA. So it's like a fruit salad thing going on. I've been using Cubase though for the last over 20 years. I started with 16 Midi channels of Cubase at the time. And now I'm lucky and I feel honored to be a part of Yamaha Steinberg, and I'm loving it, and I'm loving Cubase 10. Has anyone tried Cubase 10 yet? What do you guys think so far? What are you thinking so far? What do you like it so far?
Oh, I started with Cubase LE, then I just recently upgraded to the real product, and it's a mind blower.
Awesome.
On 6 and absolute, I mean, there's no limit.
Awesome. Same here. And what are your thoughts on?
Actually, I moved from 7 to 10, so I have a lot to catch.
Sure. Feels faster, right? Feels faster and more efficient. Yeah. Awesome. Well, okay, so I was asked by Yamaha Steinberg in terms of, I'm a songwriter first, actually a musician first, a pianist first, and then I got into songwriting because I thought, oh, this is fun. And then I got into production because I thought, well, I need to produce to execute my song ideas. So I'm first of all a musician and a songwriter, and when Yamaha Steinberg asked me to speak a little bit about my the usage of the software in my songwriting, I was like, well, maybe I should talk about the songwriting and to the production stage, because we know what happens after that, the mixing and all the technical stuff, and there are great mixing engineers. I'm not one of them, okay? So I'm more a writer and an arranger and a producer, and I come from that background, so I thought, well, maybe I will focus at this point on the stage where it goes from the creation of a song to the writing process, and how Cubase helps me with its efficiency and productivity as well to enhance my product, okay? And at this stage, when I say efficiency and productivity, it's almost like quantity and quality. And in this world, we know, doing this professionally, or even coming up the ladder, we know we've got to turn over things very quickly. Okay, so it's all about, okay, let's get it done, let's send it off to the TV station, or whoever that may be, or network, or it's an artist who wants some sort of a demo done the next day because they need to submit it, they need to play it, etc. So for me, it was all about how a software, and especially Cubase, would enhance my workflow and make things fast for me while giving me a quality result. So on that note, I would like to start with my session itself, my sort of template, if you want to call it. So I keep it sort of simple, but then I sort of get a little detailed. And my first thing is the input-output section, and I have some hardware in my studio. So what I have is basically the monitor path, and then I have this mix out, everything going out of the software into my hardware if I want to. Okay, so I have that option, so I can flip if I want to go through a hardware compressor or whatever. But for now, I have it within Cubase itself, okay? And then for my flow, I just separate, I have two things, music group and vocal group, okay? And the reason is why, because sometimes the TV guy is going to go, hey, I want this music section right now, a little bit of vocal, okay? So for me, it's a quick turnover. So these groups help me with those, okay? And that's my input-output channels, okay? And now I get to my composition area, and I come from a little old school where I have hardware synths as well, and I use a soft synths, okay? So again, to make my workflow easier, I have my hardware synths where they're all hooked up, and they come back in, routed back into Cubase, where I could just record on the go. Okay, so I have for example, I would have a DX7 even, okay, coming back in stereo, going into a compressor or a preamp, straight into my Cubase, and it's ready to go on the way. So my workflow, I feel like I've optimized it so that I don't spend too much time trying to tweak things and trying to sort of go, where's my routing here? okay? So it's very fast that way. So for that, I have all my synths, all my MIDI channels, and you guys probably know about Cubase patch scripts. Anyone know what that means? Okay, so Cubase started this a while ago. Greg, you'd know all about this, and you want to...
Yeah, so what patch scripts can do, because obviously you have like tons of different presets in an instrument. And sometimes you're like, oh, it's great, I have 1,000 sounds. And you're like, but I can't find 999 of the 1,000 sounds. I'm looking for one sound. The patch scripts would allow you to kind of access all the different patches by name, which is very useful.
Yeah, and in my case, what I've done is I've programmed certain analog synths or whatever, I've programmed my sounds, and I've called them my favorite names, so I can access those real quick, and it makes my flow easier. So anyway, so that's my hardware setup, and then my folder with my soft synth setups and other stuff. I have a whole bunch of tracks already set up, layering kicks and whatnot. So it's all ready to go for my workflow, which makes it very easy while I'm creating something. Okay, and I've grouped them with synths and buses into groups, into like drum groups, etc., guitar groups. So where again, like the guitar is probably hooked up, it's already mic'd, ready to go from the amp, going into a preamp, and it's hooked up right here. So again, workflow. Okay, so those are my two creating sort of I sort of call it composition areas. Okay. Now, I'm going to go into my music tracks for this one particular song to show you guys what this song was about and how this came together. This was for a TV, for an ad, okay? And we had to come up with this idea for an ad for the Jeep commercial. And I was like, okay, well, let's think of a title first, And one of my buddies, writing partner, he was like, well, let's call it Put It On, Put it on, put on my clothes, put on my whatever. So we started writing a little bit lyrically first. And I was like, well, maybe we'll just come up with something like a very simple 2-chord 1/4 progression. But let's just make it like a B flat 9 and an E flat 9. Let's just make it a little bluesy, extended, And it was literally 2 chords that I was like, let's just play with it, okay? So I'm going to play this right now. A very simple lick, okay? Here we go. Very simple. And we started, okay, let's write on it. Just vamp, okay? And then I was like, well, let me just lay down a very simple beat. Who's heard of Groove Agent and Cubase? Okay, it's basically an amazing drum programming. We can put samples in, etc., okay? So I use Groove Agent. Okay? And those are some of my samples that I've allocated into Groove Agent. So that's the editing process in the Groove Agent itself. Okay, that's like I think that's a hi-hat. It's a kick. So if I go to hi-hat, where is it? Here we go. So that's a hi-hat right there. A little, right? Let's cut it down a little. All right. Take the fade down a little. Okay. Already it's quick. Okay. So, all right. So that was the basic groove by which we started writing the melody and the lyrics. Okay. And we kept it throughout. It was like almost like a 12-bar blues, but it isn't. So it was like 1/4, and then we sort of ended it with a 5. Done. Right? And we wrote a chorus around it, okay? So while that was going on, I'm picking my kicks, my layers, snares. Who does like more than one kick? Okay, more than one snare, layering, okay. So, I was like, okay, well, let me pick out like a few kicks, a few snares, and I like my group sections there, so it makes it easier. So I was like, okay, well, let me just find my groups, etc., and start making the track, okay? So after a certain point, the track becomes, let me mute the vocals here. Okay. All right, let me mute the vocals. So the track was like, oops, let me just mute that. What's going on here? All right. All right. Cool bass line, was almost marching, almost, you know, moves it better, right? So that was a precision bass. We threw it in through a hardware system. So that was pretty much the record coming together now. Okay, while we're writing the song as well. So you know what I mean? So it helps with, again, with the workflow. Okay. Now, so my buddy and I were like, hey, well, let's just come up with melodies, you know. Okay, very simple, straight up for the verses, right? So we started laying it down. Okay, now it starts getting fun. Okay, so we started laying down the vocals, vocal ideas. Okay, vamping on the vocals, and we start coming up with a whole bunch of vocal ideas, and I started chopping it up. And there's this thing called lanes, okay, whereby we could have a whole bunch of vocals and choose the favorite vocal takes that you want, okay, ideas, all this stuff. So I was like, well, let me choose that. Let me pick on that. Let me get the coolest parts, put them together, and come up with a vocal line, okay? So at that point, our song started evolving pretty fast, okay? Now I'm putting instruments down and guitars down, et cetera, et cetera. And anyway, reverse back a little. Why I'm showing this is how this song came together. Now I'll go through the specifics of how Cubase 10 is also helping us with some of the vocal editing and all the new features as well, okay? So while I'm here, here's the song now. I started getting the vocals. Let me get out of the loop mode.
Oh, yeah. You can wear it high, you can wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with them heels and that little Gucci purse. Pull it to your knees like the naughty little skirt. Wrap it on your thigh, wear it like a choke. You can do it black or you can do it gold. Baby, dress it up, baby, dress it down. You can put it on. You can let it drape, you can let it fold. Wear it in the dark or you can wear it bold. You can let it twist on your chubby checker wrist. Wear it on your kiss, sugar water on your lips. Wear it on your eye, roll it in your hair. Wear it head to toe or you can wear it bare. Baby, dress it up, baby, dress it down. You can put it on. 'Cause my love, you're never gonna get enough. Yeah, my love, a gift from me to us. It's my love, a sale without the fuss. Take it out the box, throw away the bag. You can put it on. Never put a cap.
You guys like it? Cool. A lot of fun. And it was done very quick, okay? Now, I'm going to show you guys the vocal aspect here in Cubase, and especially in Cubase 10, which I'm loving in terms of what I could do with it, the flexibility. There's this, who knows of VariAudio? Cubase. Okay, so VariAudio is basically a vocal correction plugin, or is that plugin? Would you call it a plugin? Editing feature in Cubase, and I've been using it since it came out a few years ago. And VariAudio has been taken to another level now, and it's super amazing. It's super quick, very efficient, and there's a few other new features that have come up in Cubase 10, and one of them is an audio alignment panel. So we don't need any third-party plugins. It's all inbuilt. The machine has it all now, right? So it's very cool audio alignment. And above that, which I will show you, is harmony, generate harmony voices. So it actually does harmonies as well for you. Okay. So to get to that, let me just go through the VariAudio itself first, okay, and how helpful it's been for me. Let me put it on loop. All right.
Warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with them high, you can wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with them high, you can wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with them high, you can wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. can wear
That's
it
the
cold.
vocal right there.
Wear it with them
Okay.
high, you can wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with
All right, I'm gonna double click the vocal here, okay? And we'll get to see the wave. And then what I'll do is go to VariAudio, open it up, and here are our notes. How's that? Cool, huh? It gets better. Okay.
wear it low. You can wear it warm or you can wear it cold. Wear it with them high, you can wear it low.
Now, listen to that. So he's like, you can wear it high, you can wear it.
High, you can wear it low.
Okay, you can wear it low. Now, low, see that note there, right? It's an A sharp or B flat. Okay, at that point, I've quantized the pitch, which means what it does is it puts it into the note itself. The higher you quantize it, the tighter it gets within the note, okay? And then there is the other option of quantized pitch and straighten the pitch curve itself, which means it'll make it a little more tighter as you go up, okay? See that? So I'll tighten it and I'll show you what it does to it, okay?
High, you can wear it low.
Straight, right? And I can tighten the note as possible as well. Now, here's even more fun stuff. What I could do is I could start cutting this baby up here, right here. Check this out, okay? Okay, now why I do that is actually I try and get like certain points that I feel like are words, okay, and I start cutting them up. And if you notice,
You can wear it low.
he goes, you can wear it low, okay? And if I go drag this out a little here, you know what, let me just straighten it, put it all in, I'll quantize that pitch. And if I drag it out here, now listen to him.
High, you can wear it low.
You can wear it low. So we got more swing happening, okay? So you got that, you know what I'm saying? So that is super, super helpful. Let me undo that. Now listen to that again.
You can wear it low.
See that? He wasn't swinging it right there on the wear it low, okay? So I can get the right point to let him swing in the song, maybe around there, okay?
You can wear it low.
Perfect. Can wear it low, okay? Done, right? So to me, that's like super, super helpful. Where, I mean, these days, you know, you don't have the, you know, we have average singers and we have great singers, so we got to work with the average singers too and make them sound great, right? So, you know, these things help a lot, okay? And now let me go to the other aspect of the vocal help that Cubase 10 has, which is alignment, okay? So, for example, so I go to the chorus now, okay? Right here, 20. 22. All right.
'Cause my love, you never
Let me just put that on loop, okay?
gonna get enough. Yeah, my love.
Okay, so I have, in this case, we have a lead vocal, okay? Where he's like,
'Cause my love.
okay, and then you have, say, a double.
'Cause my love.
I mean, he's pretty good. His timing is pretty good, right? Don't you think? Okay, so let's make it a little bit better now, okay? Now look at these waves.
'Cause my love.
There, right? Let's see if we can improve on it, okay? So what I will do is, first of all, I would bounce selection, make sure that it is by itself with no added effects. Isn't that right? Greg? Yeah. Bounce, just want to make sure it's doing the right thing here. And now what I would do is go here into audio, open alignment panel, and I'll choose the first one, okay? Click the next one here, choose the next one, and I could align the precision of it. I could make it a lesser or more, up to a 100. So let's just make it whatever, okay? And match the words. Okay. Now let's listen to it.
'Cause my love.
What do you guys think? Hear the difference? Okay. Like that. and you could do multiple. You could add like a bunch of groups to the main voice. If you comp the main voice pretty well, your harmonies, I mean your harmonies or your doubles are going to be pretty aligned very quickly at that point. And that's a huge time saver when it comes to, hey Joe, when it comes to producing and writing and all that stuff. So who's digging that? Yeah? All right. Here's another little cool feature in terms of harmonies, okay? So again, let's go to the lead vocal here, okay? Now, it's a very cool harmony generator, especially I believe, you know, when we don't have time and the singer is not there, or sometimes we have a track from overseas that we got to make a couple of vocal lines that we need, and it has to be done quick. It's probably not the most significant vocal line, but it adds value to the record, to the song. So at that point, we're like, okay, well, how do we do this? We can't get another singer locally, and that's costly to do that. You know, you're stuck with time as well. So how do you create a harmony? Okay, so in this instance, Cubase has a very cool thing, okay, called Chord Track, okay, which is a super creative, helpful tool, whatever. I come from a piano background, so I've been sort of a little bit lucky to know a little bit about chords and understand and whatever. But what Cubase does is it helps those people who actually want to learn. It teaches you along the way as to, okay, that's the way chords work, and that's the way they're related to each other, and that's in this family, and you don't need to use that chord with this, etc., etc. So let's open up a track called, where is that? Chord Track. Okay. Greg, do you want to go through this with me?
Yeah, so just grab the pencil.
Yes, and draw that in, huh? Yeah. Okay, here we go. And then double click. So we have, in this case, I believe it was a E flat. Okay. Okay. And then double click again. I mean, create another chord. I believe it was around here. Okay. So, and then, maybe it was the other way around. Okay, but B flat. Maybe that was a B flat. Yeah, and then that was an E flat. Cool, huh? It's an E flat. Okay. Isn't that fun? So.
So sharp 9 or.
Oh yeah, sorry. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so this would come here. Okay, so 2 chords. Okay, so what it's doing now is it's letting the computer or the software realize that these are the chords generally in this song. Okay, so which means the next stage is it's going to help me get close to these harmonies as possible. Greg, do you want to go through this, or yep?
Yeah, just go ahead and select one of your parts.
Yep.
There, and just go to audio. Generate harmony voices.
And we have up to, how many is there?
4.
4. Okay, so let's just say we want to do two for now. Okay, reduce vibrato. I bring it down. Do you bring it down, the vibrato strength?
A little bit.
Yeah. Okay, and then, boom. Here we go.
Down, you can put it on. 'Cause my love, you never go.
So point being, it recognizes your key and your chord as to where you're at, and it helps you with generating the closest harmony that is possible, that is available, right? And also another thing I forgot to mention here is in the music tracks itself, I have this piano, okay, right here. If I go double click on that, actually, right? Okay. Here we go. Bam, bam, bam. What's going on? I'm trying to get the chord. Where is that?
Go to edit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Then you go to chord track.
Sure.
Maybe project.
Chord track, right?
Track.
Yeah. Create chord symbols, okay? Include the bass notes, include the tensions. This is fun. Okay, it's probably created down here for me. Ah, it actually did it on the see, it's called a D minor 7 flat 5. Okay. Anyone know why that is? Because it added the bass note in there. Okay. Actually, this doesn't have the bass note. I'm sorry. It took the bass note out. Okay. Because when I'm playing it, I didn't add the bass note in the piano part itself. Okay. So this is recognized that it's taken the E flat out and the B flat out, and it's made it the chord itself. Okay. So I could use that as also my template to create my vocal harmonies as well. It's a lot of fun, and to another level of again, you can change these. You can go to chord track here as well, can't you, Greg? And cycle of fifths and stuff like that.
Yeah, just double click on it and go to record assistant.
Yeah.
And then you can see proximity circle fifths at the bottom.
Proximity. Okay, and circle of fifths. So you could. You see what I'm saying? Okay, let me take it into a piano here. Let me find a piano sound here. And you find your relationships. At that point, you could make up your chords too, and you could find your extended chords or whatever that may be as well that you want for the song. And sometimes it really adds that extra vibe. So for a creative person who wants to get creative and you're learning along the way as well, it's sort of teaching you what's going on with music and sort of music theory while you're sort of producing along as well. So it's a lot of functions all in one. What else is there? A couple other quick things. Have I got a few minutes? Okay. So one is what Steinberg has. Cubase has, which is super fun, and it's helped production a lot. Okay, if you go here on your right, basically, and you do a right click, and you have your VST instruments, and you have loops and samples. There's 5 gigabytes of sounds in there, and it's got some cool libraries. Okay. And you can choose what you want, etc., etc. It's just drag and drop at that point. So it's very flexible, and it's very quick in terms of just grabbing something, So where is that Soul? Is that Soul SQL? Soul Assembly. Where is that? Down. Oh yeah. Thank you. So boom, drag, done. Okay, and then you could match it to whatever you want. You could, you know what I mean. And you can also transpose it right there as you go along. Okay, so it's very practical in terms of what you want to do. And one last thing as well, which I use a lot, which I'd like to mention is hit points and the Cubase sampler itself. Okay. It speeds up my workflow, for example, okay? I have this little very basic guitar lick thing right here for the chorus, okay? And it's right here. Okay? So what I could do is I could process that, okay? Go to bounce selection, okay? And then I'll replace that event, and then I'll create. Actually, no, I don't even have to create it. Go right here. Go to a sampler control, okay? And what I could do is drag this thing down here, okay? Should not. Okay. I'll have it soloed. My bad. Sorry. Okay, I can do that with vocals. Okay, so that helps me with, I mean, that could be like a sample, a vocal sample that I got where I want to pitch shift it and create a melody out of, you know, and to me, that's like super efficient, you know, bounce it, drag it into that sample, into the sampler, and I got my key right there, and I could assign the starting key itself, where it began, you know, and the original key, and then go from there. So that also helps my workflow a lot. Is that cool? Yeah. How you guys? Did you get an idea as to a little bit more in terms of Cubase? And is there any questions? Yes, sir.
I've got a question. This process you did now, that you bounced in place and loaded into the sampler.
Yeah.
You're playing with the pitch on the keyboard, right?
Yes.
That affects the speed at which it's playing, right?
You can also just check audio warp.
Yeah. Audio warp. Good question. Tempo, sync. Leave that there. Form it.
Yeah, you can just try different.
Do I have to lock this fix here? No, right? No.
Put it to
Off? There you go. Mm-hmm.
Now that's powerful.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
Right? Yes, sir.
So if you're using a hardware synthesizer along with this, will it help you manage those patches and call up the right patches for each song?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's where the patch script comes in handy. And
The system exclusive data from the synthesizer to it in order to manage that?
no, so what it does is you have the MIDI engine in the hardware, right? And it's got the MIDI channel assigned, and so you may have, say, 128 patches, right, on your synth. And what you do is you save it. There's a format. Okay, it's a language almost, very basic language, and you save it with those names. So what it does is basically once you click here, if I go back.
And that it will fire off the program change, the corresponding program and bank change message.
Yeah.
And if you have some of the Yamaha keyboards, that'll have direct integration in. And also now, it's just right before the show, we'll see, you know, Midi 2.0, which will be doing a lot of this, and Steinberg is on board with that already. You know, to make sure that we have kind of that deeper integration. So, you know, I think what we'll be able to do is, you know, I imagine that we could, you know, just click a button and it would download all the presets, maybe into Media Bay, so you can have access and everything will be categorized.
Yeah, I just bought an MOX app that came with the Steinberg
Yeah.
software, and I'm wanting to use
So-
it more of a library and patch library.
Yeah, that's what I do as well, because you don't have to go to the synth. You can just do it from here. So what you do is you go to Studio, more options, MIDI device manager, okay, and you could install a device. So here's some synths, okay. Say I want to go to a Yamaha motif, or you know what I'm saying. You choose that, okay, and then at that point you assign your MIDI channel. And that's it. And then that would open it up in terms of the sounds you want and all that stuff. It'll give you the patch names.
You'll be able to select by all the patch names in the Yamaha keyboard.
If I was going to make a set list, I could flip.
That's what I do. Yeah, because exactly. Well said. Yeah.
Awesome.
So you don't have to look at the hardware.
Yeah. So you have your sounds.
It could be across the room, and you can control all the patch management.
Yeah. So you have your sound saved, you know, and it's ready to go here. And if you got it routed, then you just track in, and it's audio at that point too, you know.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
While using Cubase 10, so I said I moved from 7 to 10. So I went through a lot of functions already, but time scratching, I'm a little bit lost right now. Because say I select a wave within Cubase, and I go to audio, and I want to move from 120 to 125, right? Is already, by the time I go inside, I don't know if you can do it, but just select a wave and pretend you want to accelerate it, right? Mm-hmm. By the time you go into the box, right, you haven't done anything and you already processed it. It's a very, very strange thing, so I don't know if you can show it.
Yeah, so we have technology called audio warp, and you can place any MIDI or audio event onto in musical mode. And once that audio is placed in musical mode, whatever tempo you type in, it will play back that MIDI or audio.
First, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you don't want it to change with the tempo, just turn the musical mode off.
If I am on the musical mode, then I cannot select the kind of algorithm that I want to write. I want to go back to this the dialog box that I'm talking about, where I can really be very specific, in terms of what kind of time stretching I want to apply, right?
There's different algorithms for the real-time time stretching. So you have some of the legacy algorithms. You also have the elastic algorithms as well, which do, I do a demo where you just take a multi-track in real time, like 24 tracks, and speed it up, slow it way down, and people are like, oh, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, listen to it, right? No, you can't do that. I'm watching it. That's impossible. But it's just that fast in real time. I remember I was doing a project, my friend Daryl Pearson, who was here yesterday, and he was doing something with Michael Jackson where he wanted to change the tempo as they're getting ready to mix a project. And he called me from Ireland. It woke me up at 3 in the morning. He's like, how do we do this? And I was like, oh, just place it all in musical mode. You type in the tempo. He's like, yeah, okay, yeah, we're hungry, so we'll let it render. I'm like, just hit play. And they're like, no, you can't do that. And I'm like, hit play. And he was like, wow, that's the tempo we want. And they were just totally floored that they could just do it, because you may have a tempo in mind. You go, oh, that's exactly what we want. You listen to it, it's like, a little faster. Why not? A little slower. Let's make the verse a little faster, make the chorus a little slower, whatever.
I have a question. Do you guys, is there tutorials available for learning?
We have hours and hours and hours of tutorials. If you go to youtube.com/Cubase, we also do Hangouts like twice a month.
Cubase Hangouts.
Yeah, and I host those, and it's like, people from all over the world will ask questions in real time, and we'll go for like 3 hours live, and people will watch it live, afterwards. So, we do a lot of like tutorials, not necessarily like, this is the manual in a tutorial, but I want to fix my vocals this way, I want to do a drum beat this way, and it's like, here's my problem, here's the solution, here's my problem, here's the solution. So.
What's the minimum horsepower you need for the computer?
Oh, wow.
I think like an i5, maybe like 8 gigs of RAM would be minimum. A lot of people are running i7s or the AMD or the Ryzen's. Like 16 gigs of RAM if you're doing a lot of samples. So if you're like, doing a film, like if you're a film composer, like okay, I'm doing, we're at a film composer's house, Tom Holkenberg, right over there. His opening template for his Cubase is 3,000 tracks, and that's not uncommon. So he would need probably a faster computer than for a session like what Clarence is doing here.
Are there any written tutorials or manuals?
Yep, the program has a full 1,400-page manual and PDF file that you can search, and you can also you can kind of do like a Google search. I want to do this, and you can see like an online help, but there's a traditional PDF documentation as well.
And they're kind of don't tell you how to.
The manual says what things are. That's where the tutorials are kind of more application specific. I want to do this. I want to accomplish this. A quick question in the back?
Yeah, forgive me if this has been answered already, but I know you used to have a wait for note function, and it doesn't seem to be there any longer.
So we never really had a wait for note function, but we do have a retrospective record.
I use that all the time, but sometimes I need to point the cursor in a very specific place and put it in something there. And that's what I'd like to use it for. I used to use it all the time in Pro Tools and everybody else.
Yeah, so we just have a retrospective record. So whatever you just put there. So even if you're in a record and you play like, oh, this is the greatest, clavinet lick of all time, you could just hit, was it Shift asterisk and just kind of roll it back.
Yeah, I love that. I want to be able to just point the cursor and play one note at one specific thing.
Yeah, you can do step entry.
Is that what you?
It's not exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's like I just want the thing to stick.
Yeah, we don't have a wait to note function, but most people kind of tend to prefer the retrospective. So. All right, can we thank Clarence?
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Yamaha. Thank you for coming, everyone. Appreciate it.
Good job. Yeah. All right, we'll be around if you have questions. Thanks for coming out.